Bonsoir. Bonsoir, est-ce que vous m'entendez? Voilà. Si vous voulez bien, on va commencer.
If you agree, we will begin. Does everybody who wishes to have simultaneous interpretation into French or English, please pick up your headphones behind, at the end of the room. Haneen Zoabi is going to be speaking in English, and that will be translated into or interpreted into French. So we'd like to welcome you here on behalf of the committee. We have representatives of the diplomatic world, and I'm going to give the floor straight away to the person who is going to manage the moderation. We will be able to meet afterwards for an informal further discussion where David Bruman is going to introduce the subject for this evening and also handle the discussion thereafter. Good evening, everybody. Thank you very much for having come this evening. I'm the very lucky person who's been chosen to lead today's discussion. I work for the Jeudi as a journalist. My name is David Bruman. And the rules of the game this evening are that I will introduce our invited guest speaker, Haneen Zoabi, and once she has spoken to us, I will come back to make some points of my own on what she said, and then the floor will be open to you to put questions, give your comments, and I will be there to ensure that you'll be able to put questions, but also that you get answers. So it's important for you to provide that feedback. Do you feel your questions have been answered? Now, those are the rules of the game for this evening. Now, I do have a little text on which I will base my opening comments. I'm not very good at improvising orally. So, what would I say? She was born in 1969 in Nazareth, and she still lives there today. After having studied psychology and journalism, she spent some years teaching, and then she began to be the director of an NGO promoting Palestinian media to ensure that Palestinian lives were better promoted in the media in Israel. In 2010, she was part of the flotilla which tried to break the blockade of Gaza. She was on the boat Marmara, where 9 activists were killed after an intervention by an Israeli commando. She's a member of the Arab Palestinian Party, the National Arab group, which was formed to protest the conclusion of the Oslo Agreement, because that party is calling for a state for all citizens. They want an Israeli state open to all citizens, not just a Jewish state. She was elected to the Knesset in 2009, and she is now serving out her third mandate, where since having been elected as part of the Joint Alliance in 2015. You have behind me pictures taken in the Knesset. She's the first member of the Israeli parliament elected from among the Arab Israeli population. As an Israeli and Palestinian citizen, she defends with great vigor the rights of Palestinians. And she wants to be a fully recognized member of the parliament. There have been numerous attempts to exclude her from the parliament, which have not thus far succeeded. I have spent some time discussing with her in order to prepare this evening's meeting. And it's my impression that I found out more about the Palestinian-Israeli question in the hour I spent with her than in the 10 years I've been researching this subject matter on the internet and elsewhere. I hope that you will have the same experience. Madame Zoabi, please come to the floor. Venez au micro, s'il vous plaît.
Good afternoon. I'm very pleased to be here among you. I want first of all to thank the Organization for Just Peace in the Middle East, Martin and Michelle and everybody. First of all, I want, before telling about what's the reality of Israel as a state, as a legal system, as a political system, and connect this with the side of the story which you are more familiar with, the occupation, the siege, the apartheid, the crimes which Israel conduct against the Palestinian people. I want to share you with my feelings whenever I come to Europe. And whenever we ask, as Palestinians, we ask ourselves, why it seems to us, the Palestinians, that our cause is a very clear cause. It is so clear that Israel is killing us, is killing our people, putting 2 million Palestinians into a siege in Gaza, stealing our land, confiscating our land. And when I say confiscating our land, I'm not talking about the settlements in the West Bank. I'm talking about the land of the Palestinians whom Israel gave its citizenship to them. After Israel has expelled my people in 1948, 85% of my people Israel has expelled 1948 in a policy of ethnic cleansing. I am one of the fourth generations, Palestinian generations, which remain in their homeland, which Israel didn't expel in 1948, thinking that it can give us citizenship as a strategy of taming us, of absorbing us into the Zionist project, disconnecting us from our people, disconnecting us from our history, calling us Arab Israelis, not Palestinians. And when we identify ourselves as part of the Palestinian people, then we are terrorists, then we are enemy, not citizens. But the question, why we think it must be so obvious. If we are human beings, just use our intellectual integrity, just use our values of justice, of freedom. Why it's so difficult for the international community, for the international countries to support us? Why this, using this discourse of a balanced discourse, framing our reality as a conflict or as a dispute between the Israelis and Palestinians, not as occupation, not as colonialism, not as apartheid? Why it's so difficult for parliamentarians, diplomatics, even journalists to speak frankly and to express their feelings and attitudes towards the Palestinian people and the Palestinian cause? And the answer is, the difficult and the problem is not just the Israeli oppression and apartheid and colonialism vis-à-vis the Palestinians. There's also another problem, the pressure and the oppression of the Zionist lobby inside Europe and inside the USA, but now we are in Europe. The problem is that it is not just the story of the Israeli oppression. It is not the story of the Palestinians who are oppressed, but who are fighting for their freedom. It is also the Europeans who cannot express their attitudes. We don't ask you to love the Palestinians. We don't ask you to like the Palestinians. We ask you just to be honest with your own values. If you say we believe in justice, we believe in equality, we believe in freedom, and we will not support colonialist system, we will not support states which conduct crimes against other people. You have laws which forbid you to sign agreements with states who don't respect human rights. Why you do that? Why it's so difficult for the Europeans to express their unease? Why the Zionist lobby succeeded to threat journalists, to threat diplomats, to threat politicians, to say we will stop funding you, or we will harm your reputation, or we will block your development in your career. So it seems for the Palestinians that it is not enough to liberate the Palestinians. Maybe first of all we should liberate the Europeans. Maybe we should liberate you as Europeans. And what we are asking you, first of all, to admit the fact that you cannot be neutral, because you are also part of the struggle. Your state either support Israel, theoretically, either support Israel or dissupport Israel and make Israel accountable to its crime. And by checking reality, by treating Israel as a normal state, while Israel doesn't treat the Palestinian in a normal way, not to talk about war crimes and not to talk about crimes against humanity. While you are doing so, it becomes more and more difficult for us, the Palestinians, to liberate ourselves. Because our struggle is really not just struggle against Zionism, it's not just struggle against the Israeli colonialism and the Israeli apartheid and the Israeli occupation. It's also a struggle against countries who support Israel. And by supporting Israel, we don't mean to agree with the Israeli policy. It is enough to have normal relations with Israel. Because in the Knesset, when we say to Israel, you will be isolated because of your crimes, they laugh at us. And they are right. They will laugh at us saying, no, you are wrong. We are even upgrading our relations with the Europeans. We have an excellent relation with the Europeans. You will be isolated. You are the one who are isolated. So our first message when we are in Europe, in Luxembourg, in France, in England, that you must put your government into account, because this government is behaving in your behalf, using your taxes in order to make our life more difficult as a Palestinians. And when we hear the answer, no, we don't want to boycott. We don't agree with BDS because we want to influence the Israeli state. We want to have a good negotiation and discussion with Israel. We say that it is not efficient. And by just checking reality and checking the last discriminative laws, expanding settlements, putting 2 million into a siege for 11 years, just turning out the West Bank into a Bantustan and cantons, you are seeing the reality. You are perceiving how Israel is deepening occupation, how Israel now passing, and I will mention a few laws, passing more and more fascist laws, not just racist laws. Laws which enable us to use the word kill or murdered. But in this speech that I say, you murdered my people, you are murdering and killing my people. Just describing this fact. While Israel has put snipers to kill children and youth who came to demonstrate, I'm not allowed to use the word murdered or kill. I'm not allowed in the Knesset. And they speak about us, they use us. Look, we have a Palestinian case. They are an indication of our democracy. No, you want to use us as a decorative for an imagined democracy. You are not a democracy at all, not just not a democracy. You treat me as a Palestinian as you treat the Palestinian in the West Bank. No, not as. In a less violent way. You don't kill me every 3.6 days, as the statistics of Amnesty indicates. Every 3, Israel kills, murder a Palestinian every 3.6 days. But you use this citizenship in order also to oppress my identity. You confiscated 96% of my land. We are now 18% of the population inside Israel, 1,200,000, whom again Israel didn't expel in 1948 in an act of ethnic cleansing. Israel has, till now, after confiscating our now, and Israel now, okay, slow down. Israel, till now, has confiscated 86% of our land, built exclusively for the Jews, 700 towns and cities. In Israel there are, and I'm not talking about occupation, yeah? I'm not talking about Gaza. I'm not talking about my people whom Israel turned to a terrorist people. I'm talking about citizens, yeah? Palestinian citizens, who even didn't throw a stone. More slow. Who even didn't throw a stone, who took our citizenship seriously. You gave us Israel, you came to me, and remember, we didn't immigrate to Israel. It was Israel who immigrated to us, and you gave us your citizenship, but we are the proof that Israel is not a democracy. It is a myth. There are two major myths. Israel is a victim, and Israel is a democracy. And this expression, this term of victim, is not a conclusion from what's happening on the ground, because if you have just an average IQ, an average dignity, you will realize that no, the Palestinians are the victims. It was the Israelis who occupy them, who came to their homeland in order to establish a state for the Jews. But a victim is, Israel used the word victim as a part of its identity. And you don't argue with identity. I am a victim. It's an identity. It's part of my identity. No matter what I am doing to the Palestinians, you must believe that I am a victim. And you must also, you cannot those who out the international community, you cannot criticize me. And this is why Israel needed a new definition of anti-Semitics. Yeah? Anti-Semitics? Yeah, anti-Semitics. And we should ask ourselves, why now? Why now Israel is making to criticize Israel as a definition of anti-Semitics? Why? To oppress free thinking, to oppress your human values. It is a kind of oppression. Again, it's because Israel knows that it is so obvious analyzing what's happening to reach the conclusion that Israel is a racist state, that it is not ripe, and it doesn't want any settlement, any political agreement with the Palestinians, because the idea of a Jewish state didn't complete it yet. Israel didn't define its borders. Israel has no constitution, because the Zionist project was not completed yet. And the right wing in Israel is more honest. At least they are more honest. These fascists are more honest. They are telling us, no, we want to annex and we want to expand, and don't talk about Palestinian sovereignty, and don't talk about equality. And it is our right. It is an ethical discourse. They continue. This is an ethical discourse. Why? Because all the world accept the term Jewish state without thinking what is the meaning of a Jewish state. And the problem is not policies here and there. The problem is not occupation in 1967. It is not the siege. It is the definition, a Zionist project, which came to my homeland in order to establish a Jewish state, and the meaning of a Jewish state is to secure privileges to the Jews on the expense of the Palestinians. So what we are arguing with the Israelis here in the Knesset, when we took our citizenship seriously, that you didn't come to my homeland in order to live with me. You came to replace me. You didn't come even to live with me. You came with a full idea that this is an empty land, that we the Palestinians don't exist. We either ghosts or guests. And you tolerate us. You just maximum, the optimal scenario that you are tolerating us. And the minute we say, wait a minute, we inside the Knesset or outside the Knesset are struggling for equality, are struggling for a normal state, even without talking again about Gaza, without talking about the West Bank. Why I'm saying don't forget a little bit about Gaza and about the West Bank, because the ultimative defense of Israel is that I am a democratic state. Okay, I am a democratic state. And what I am making to the Palestinian people is in order to defend myself. Okay, let's put aside this discourse and this argument. What about your treatment to the Palestinians, citizens, whom you gave them your citizenship? What exactly are you defending yourself? When you are confiscating their land, when you don't let them study, don't let us study our history in the schools, not our literature. We pay taxes to the educational system in order to internalize how inferior we are, how we don't deserve rights, how this homeland belongs to other people, that we disconnected, we have no people, we are not Palestinians, we are Arab Israelis. We don't deserve to develop our towns and the cities. The land is for the Jewish. And now, when we are living above 2.3% of the land, 2.3, we are 18%. We owned 86% of the land in 1948. Israel, with the help of 9 laws, has legitimate stealing our land again, confiscating our land for the exclusive use of the Jews, because I am a Jewish state. I am a Jewish state. This is the answer. And by the answer, I am a Jewish state, it justifies all the racist policies against us. Okay, you are treating me as an obstacle to this Jewish state after a process of ethnic cleansing, and you want to tame me. You want me to internalize my inferiority. And when our answer is, we don't accept that. This is the answer. Okay, we don't accept that. And we fight by a political struggle. Political struggle. No one accuses us of armed struggle. No one accuses us of violence. But even using a mere pure political struggle inside the Knesset, raising awareness with one demand, just one demand, equality. Of course, freedom to our people in Gaza and the West Bank. Of course, right of return. I will talk about that. But let us, at the beginning, concentrate with the legal and political system inside Israel, because we rarely talk about it. We don't know that in Israel there are 100 racist laws against citizens. We cannot argue with Israel. When Israel says, end of the story, I am a democracy, you must defend me because I'm democracy. No one analyzes what is the meaning of democracy, because we concentrate all the time about Gaza and the West Bank. And this is the time also to use the oppression, the racism, and the apartheid inside, not the official border of Israel, because again, Israel didn't decide about its border. It wants to expand more and more. Now, the only demand of ourselves as Palestinians, to have a democracy, to have the state define itself as a state for all the citizens. This is our demand. It's so simple. It's so taken for granted. And the Knesset refuses just last 2 weeks before, refuses not to vote, refuses to represent this draft to the Knesset voting. She said, I will not even discuss the law, the draft of law demanding the state to be a state for all of its citizens. Why? Because, and they were so frank, because this draft contradicts two things: the definition of Israel as a Jewish state, and the last bill which has been passed few months ago defining Israel as a national state for the Jews all over the world. So Israel, by definition, is not just a state for some of the citizens who are Jews, it is also a state for those who are not citizens at all. It's a state for the Jews who don't live in Israel. So we, the Palestinians, say that the ethnic cleansing idea is still, political cleansing idea now, is still, it remains and it operates itself within the laws of Israel. And our struggle, we see our struggle is not just a struggle for the benefit of the Palestinians. It is not just for our equality. It is to make, it is again a huge historical compromise. For me, to say to the colonialist who came to my homeland 70 years ago in order to replace me, in order not just to confiscate the land, they are confiscating also the landscape. They are renaming the cities, renaming the villages, rewriting history, rewriting geography. They want to Judaize everything, not just to Judaize Jerusalem, to Judaize even the names of the cities and the places, to give it Hebrew names instead of the Arabic names. So we said to the colonizer, we want equality with you. For me as a native, as indigenous people, we don't consider ourselves to be minorities. Okay, in the Knesset, they don't define us, they don't call us Palestinian. No. You are Arab Israelis. And we don't understand what's this expression of Arab Israelis. We were not, during the British mandate, we were not Arab British. We were Arabs. And either we are non-Jew, or Muslims, Christians, Druze, anything, but not Palestinians. So the concept of loyalty, to be loyal, is a concept which is defined in a fascist way. It is not to respect the laws which respect you because it's a democratic laws and laws which define equality. It is to accept the definition of the state as a Jewish state. This means to accept specific ideology. It means to be loyal to Zionism. So what Israel is asking us as Palestinians is to be loyal to the idea that this is not our land, this is not our land, this is not our homeland, we are inferior, this is a promised land for the Jews, and any real democratic struggle would define inside Israel as an act of خيانة شو خيانة؟ Betray. Yeah, as an act of betray, and there are specific laws to disqualify us even as a Knesset member if we don't recognize Israel as a Jewish state, as a Jewish and democratic state. And what we are saying, this is the problem, the contradiction within this one definition. It is not a logical definition, Jewish and democratic state. You cannot be, and you must choose whether you are a democracy or you are a Jewish. This is the argument. This is the political argument. And because of this argument, which really challenges the racist nature of the definition of the state, that they want to silence us. And they have even passed special laws, new law, after 70 years of the state. There is a new law to enable 90 Knesset members out of 120 to disqualify, to permanently expel a Knesset member. So we have been elected by 500,000 Palestinians. We have been elected by 500,000 Palestinians. But 90 Knesset members can say, no, we dislike this Knesset member, and they can gather 70 signatures and then start a procedures of expelling a Knesset member without the ability for us to appeal to the court, without proving that we violate any law. So the real election is taking place inside the Knesset. Majority of racism, and you have a majority of racism there, can just decide for the Palestinian citizens who would represent them. If you are a good Arab Israeli, we will let you represent your people. So a very fragile definition of democracy. It is not a democracy, it's just, it is so, we admire the way they built a false scene of democracy. And everything in Israel is controlled by the majority, the tyranny of the majority. In Israel, the majority can decide anything. No guarantees for equality, no guarantees for human rights, no guarantees for minority rights. As I said to you, and I don't have a time, I have 9 slides for racist laws that I will show you a little bit. بدي لا مش الفيديو and by doing, we are actually, why it is so important to analyze the situation of these laws, to analyze these laws, to analyze the internal legal system and the way Israel treats the Palestinians. Because, as I said, وين أحط؟ Because we are the real answer whether Israel is a democracy. And why this is so important? Because Israel is so sensitive to its image as a democratic state. This is why the Zionist lobby is coordinating its activities with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and with a new ministry. Israel has established a new ministry in 2009 in order to fight BDS. The only aim of this ministry, with hundreds of dollars, I don't know, a lot of budgets, is to persecute and solidarity campaigns, to persecute BDS, to persecute personally, individually, those who support. And if Israel is a victim, I know that the victim wants everybody to know everything about his reality. He is not afraid from truth. The victim would never be afraid from facts. And those who portray Israel as a victim must ask themselves, Why Israel deny you? Sometimes some European parliamentarians deny them entering the West Bank, deny them entering Israel. Why? So Israel is afraid from truth. Israel is oppressing the Europeans. The Zionist lobby sometimes control your activities, your freedom of expression, more than your governments. It was anti-Semitic is to treat the Jews in a special way. And 6 million Jews has lost their life because Europe wants to treat the Jews in a special way. But now Israel wants the Europeans to treat the Jews in a special way, in a favorite way. This is a new anti-Semitism. Israel must not be above international rights. Israel cannot be above human rights and cannot control your freedom of expression. I met hundreds, not tens, hundreds of journalists who said to me, we cannot write this. I met tens of diplomats who said, we cannot speak frankly about that. And it cannot be. And this is the time to really approach parliamentarians, approach decision makers, not with Palestinian discourse, not with analysis. Let's make Israel speak about itself. Let's make the laws speak about themselves. Because when you ask the Israelis, what about these laws? How come you have these apartheid fascist laws? I think it would be more difficult to say I am defending myself. And if it says because I am a Jewish state, then here is the answer. There is no democratic way to have a Jewish state. And our struggle is to decolonize the state, to decolonize the regime, to decolonize the situation. And this is, again, our historical compromise. We cannot just speak about occupation and about the siege, and not at all about one state, two-state solution. I think this is a stupid question now. We should speak and concentrate and frame the cause as a cause of justice. So here's the law I talked with you about, the expulsion of AMKs. And to tell you about democracy, not by laws, by the public opinion, the Israeli public opinion. 11% of the Israelis believe that democracy means equality. 11%. 56% believe that democracy means privileges to the Jews. So the expulsion of AMK allows a majority of 90. I mentioned this law. Okay. Another law, and look, also March 2017. It is a new laws when Israel is so strong, expanded the settlements, transfer the reality in the West Bank into Bantustan, putting 2 million into a siege, killing, not accountable to its crimes. It's upgrading relations with the Europeans, with the international community. Why now you need to be more fascist? Because, why? And then the laws. Why? Why? Why you are more and more restricting, oppressing the Palestinians, and why more and more you are repressing the Europeans by your Zionist lobby? Why you are controlling? What kind of self-confidence you have? Why you have much self-confidence? Why you are putting snipers? First of all, two main answers. Because Israel are sure the limits of the European reaction. If no sanctions, if no BDS, no boycott. If America put a veto, I can do whatever I want. If there is Trump with blind support, then I can do whatever I want. I am the spoiled child who can just be crazy because no rational parents are around. Who talked about parents yesterday? But the second question, that Israel is moving from managing the crisis to solving the crisis. Israel now is blocking any chance option of two states. Don't talk about two states. Talk about the new صفقة القرن. Yeah, the deal of the century, the new one, maybe a state in Gaza, yeah, Mount Sinai, and annexing the West Bank, all just C zone or C and B zones, whatever, and giving maybe a local authority, local autonomy to Appentostones in the West Bank. Towards this, Israel is going. And unlike the liberal racist, يعني the Zionist left, who want to separate themselves from the Palestinians, yeah, they want to separate. The difference between left and right in Israel, they complete each other. They are complementary blocks. They don't contradict each other. The Zionist left wing, which is racist liberals, want to be separated from the Palestinians. Both of them don't want to live with the Palestinians, don't believe in coexistence, don't believe in one normal state with equal rights. Both. There is no left in Israel. But there is a different strategies for the liberal racist and the fascist. The liberal racists want to separate themselves from the Palestinians. Because of this, the engagement of Gaza, yani the siege, and the wall, they want to annex the land without the people. The right wing, the fascists, don't care, they want both. Yeah, we can annex the people, and we can annex the Palestinians, their land and themselves, and we are not afraid from them. We will oppress them. This is the difference between the two blocks. This is no real difference. They are complementary. One wants the land without the Palestinians. This was the original idea of ethnic cleansing. You want our land, and you want just to expel us. This is how the left Zionists, the liberal racists, began establishing Israel, by ethnic cleansing. They want the land without the Palestinians, and also the Zionist camp, those who consider to be the opposition, they refuse to annex the West Bank because they don't want to live with the Palestinians, not because they believe in the rights of the Palestinians, not because they believe in equality, because they don't want to see the Palestinians. They want pure Jewish, pure with a majority, The fascist right wing, extremist right wing, don't care about majority because he wants to replace majority with a group of laws which guarantee total control. Apartheid. The answer of the right wing is apartheid. The answer of the left, racist, separation. And because of this, you can analyze within the last 4 years, 3 times more racist laws. 3 times since Netanyahu 2009. I have the statistics. So, controlling leadership, part of it, controlling the leadership. These are laws to control the leadership of the Palestinians inside Israel. we mentioned the last, the expulsion of MKs. Another one, the expansion of grounds for disqualifying candidates from Knesset elections. Also by our statements. We can just declare, if we declare our empathy with our people, according to March 2017, we can be disqualified from running to the Knesset. So don't talk about the right of the Palestinians to be elected to the Knesset. Okay. And so to control the leadership, to oppress the international community, to oppress criticism, not just inside Israel, to oppress the Palestinians, to oppress the NGOs inside Israel. There are a group of flaws, not this. And the third group of oppression, of political terrorism, is to oppress you. This is for you. Law banning BDS supports from entering Israel. And I don't know why the Europeans also doesn't care about their own rights. Why you are so silent toward your government when you are banned from entering Israel? So the anti-terror, also June 2016. I will not give you one example about laws in 50s, and there are plenty. But this is the shift of Israel. As I said to you, and I didn't finish the idea. Israel is shifting since the Second Intifada from a racist society, according to researchers, it is not my words, you can Google it, to a semi-fascist society. And this is because of shifting of political elites. Till 2003, just 3% from the army officers were settlers and extreme religious right-wing, 3%. 2016, there are 29%, about 30%, 10 times more, shifting of elites, more settlers in the media, Israeli media, more settlers controlling the political scene, more settlers in the Knesset, more settlers in the army, more settlers in the controlling, even monitoring the speeches of the professors inside the university. A professor in a university wrote it 4 months ago. I feel sorry for every Israeli and Palestinian woman who lost her kid. I feel sorry. She didn't mention who is responsible about this death. Who is the terrorist here? Who is the victim? No analysis. She feels sorry. She expressed that she's a professor, a well-known professor. And there was an incitement against her. The university invited her, etc., etc. This is just to the anti-terror law 2016. Criminalize legitimate political action and even humanitarian and cultural activity. Israel can. I have, if I want to support financially a family in Gaza, Israel can sue me according to this, because I'm showing humanitarian activity towards Gaza. According to this law, cultural loyalty bill, this is why they identify Israel now as a fascist state. And this is why the political situation in Israel is not stable. We cannot talk about Israel, period. No, there is no Israel. Israel 2017 is different than Israel 2007, different Israel 1995. Israel is shifting. And we can see the outcome on the ground. And this is the outcome of the silence of the international community. So don't talk about Israel. Researchers are talking about the new Israel. They are defining Israel now, the new Israel, with the right wing, extremist right wing controlling everything and having such a fascist laws. Cultural loyalty bill requires cultural institutions and artists seeking state funding to declare their loyalty to the state of Israel and its laws, and the meaning of loyalty, again, loyalty to the privilege, to the definition of the state as a Jewish state. Even to fund cultural activities, you cannot. Anti-boycott, okay. Nakba law, we cannot commemorate Nakba. We cannot have a study day about Nakba. If Israel can freeze again to condition all the budgets according to your political thinking. It's to control political thinking. This is what part of the description of fascism. It is monitoring just not to confiscate not just your land, to monitor your ideas. Okay. Give you, if I have time, I'm stealing time from Natalie. No, not this. Public discourse. Here is Netanyahu, just to remind you how Netanyahu described the Palestinian and Israel as a threat, because the fact that we are taking our citizenship and we take the democracy, the absent democracy, the idea of democracy, we took it seriously. The Arabs are coming out in droves to vote. Buses in by the left, yeah. Okay. Every 46 seconds, a Jewish Israeli posts an anti-Arab post on Facebook or in other social media. There has been an increase of more than 100% since 2015. There is a correlation between inciting remarks made by senior government officials and racist posts by citizens, and I don't have no time to continue. I will go to more important, not East Jerusalem, because I don't have time. Where is the rest? Okay, maybe this. Okay, yeah. Few statistics. 50% of Israeli Jews feel fearful when hearing people speaking Arabic. And we are 70 years together. And 70 years, we are not absent. We are total absent in the textbooks. Total absent. No one word for the children, the Israeli children, about Palestinian, about what is Arab culture. Nothing. We are ghosts. The idea of ethnic cleansing is also a psychological idea. Okay, we expel 85%, but we will continue to expel from our mind the remaining 15% who become now 18%. We don't exist. It is either we don't exist or to demonize the Palestinians. These are the two strategies. To demonize us when we are vocal, when they cannot forget about us, when we stop to be absent in their mind because we are so vocal, we fight for our rights, we have a vision, we do something, then they demonize us. When we silent, it is not that they are satisfied and accept us because we are silent. No, we don't exist. We are absent. Okay. Just to count the slides, I have here okay. In 2016, the Knesset passed a pure classical apartheid law. This is not this. Acceptance committee law. The law enabled the state, enable 483 community village to refuse any citizen, from living within these community villages. To refuse without the ability to go to the court. What is the basic to refuse the citizen to live? Because of social criteria of social harmony. And this was the first very clear apartheid law, because it was a policy not to accept Palestinians in different cities and in a lot of cities, Jewish cities and towns, not Jewish cities and towns. But 2016, it was the level which Israel felt again self-confidence to make the policies of apartheid, to legalize policies of apartheid, to upgrade it from a policy to a law. And again, the same idea, the bill also allows the state to establish separate communities. It is not just not to allow the Palestinians to live within the 473. Again, the 473 were built upon our land. It is our land. It is our confiscated land. And these 473 compose more than 60% of the area inside Israel, the area of 48. So by law of 2015, we are not allowed to live above 60%. Can you imagine anything like that in any democratic state? Now it is not enough. 3 years after, the law of a Jewish nation-state bill enabled the state to establish separate communities based on nationality or religion. Of course, it is not a separate towns for Palestinians. Okay. Okay, I have a lot and I will not continue because I ran away. Okay, what is the vision? What to do for the solidarity campaign strategy? First of all, to stop talking about negotiation and two-state and one-state. To talk about reality, not about the solution. Now, let's just delay the solution discourse. The problem, the suffering of the people, the occupation, the apartheid, and the colonization. Second, to talk that, to reframe the issue, not as issue which started in 1967. It started in 1948 with ethnic cleansing. 3, to analyze what's the concept of the Jewish state, because again, Israel is so sensitive. What is Israel afraid from is again truth and democracy. Truth and what? Truth and equality, and struggle for democracy. And to be so aware that, and to analyze the definition of Israel as a Jewish state, and to understand that the only meaning of a Jewish state is to secure Jewish majority and secure privileges to the Jews. And the third step, to understand that the situation is deteriorating because we don't make Israel accountable to its crimes. And there is no way other than BDS, other than freezing normal relations with Israel. And by doing this, you are first of all honest, you are honest with your own values, because it's your taxes, your government, your votes. It is with you that Israel is using to silence. It is you that Israel is using to silence. And you must fight, first of all, before fighting for the Palestinians, to fight for yourselves. And to understand that Israel is shifting, it's deteriorating, and really to have this 100 laws that I have no time, maybe I mentioned here 10 laws from 100, really to distribute these laws, to start to talk about the Israeli legal system, because no one can answer you. Israel cannot answer you anything. These are the laws. This is what Israel is. This is what Israel. This is a mirror of Israel, and start to talk about that and to again to make Israel accountable to its crimes. And thank you. You can sit. Yeah. Okay. Oh. Okay.
Thank you very much. Is this working? Is this okay? I don't hear. We go up on the... Okay, we're asked to go up.
I can answer from here, no? I will stand here.
Yeah, yes, no. Very well. I had one question. If we go back up a bit from your conclusion, I'm curious. You've been you're a politician. You went to elections. You were re-elected, and yet you say that that the Palestinian Arabs, the 13 members of parliament, are actually just, their function is a pretext for the Jews to say it's a democracy. Well, why? I have a feeling that you must be frustrated as a parliament, as a representative of the people. Does this mean that you're going to quit, or are you going to stop this? That it's useless, this political battle in the Knesset?
Okay. Answer this now? Okay. First of all, I'm not frustrated at all. I'm just angry, and it's good to be angry. And no, I don't think that our function is useless, because if it's useless, Israel would not invest so much energy and uncover its real image by passing a lot of laws in order to disqualify us. No, we are so vocal, and we are raising awareness, and we don't let Israel use us in a decorative way. Israel wants a good Palestinians inside the Knesset, but we are not the good Palestinians, and we don't want to be the good ones. We want to be the bad ones, and we will continue to be the bad ones, and this is our answer to our people. So no, frustrated we are not. And I really, in politics, I don't believe in expression like am I optimistic or am I pessimistic? I'm not optimistic, I'm not pessimistic. I know that we must struggle. You have no other way. You have just two options, either to give up your rights or to continue. And we will continue because we have a lot of strength. Maybe I just talked about the policies of Israel because this is the topic of my talks, but we are fighting for a justice cause. And you are fighting in order to live, and you don't want... We have an example from Gaza. You have 2 million whom 100 years of siege didn't break their will. And they were so creative, and they continue to think to rethink how we should resist and what strategies we should use. So, when you have a people which you oppress and you just deepen your oppression, so you make him, you give him just two choices, either to die in a very slow motion, like in Gaza, to die because of the siege, or to resist and to rethink strategies of resistance. And this is what we should do. And we have no other option.
I have a second question, and then we'll go to the audience.
Yeah.
My second question is a follow-up of your conclusion, which is a message to us. What your conclusion is a message to us is say, don't focus on the solution, focus on the values. Focus on, we can't jump from the situation today to a solution.
Yeah.
We have to go through, we have to start from scratch.
Yeah.
I think it could help us a bit if nonetheless you gave us your vision of a solution.
Yeah.
Just a vision, not saying
Yeah.
that we should aim for it, but
Yeah.
your personal vision of a
Yeah.
solution.
I am a member of National Democratic Assembly, and our political platform was established in 1995 as an answer to Oslo, because what Oslo said that the Palestinians inside Israel are an internal Israeli issue. Also, Oslo disconnected us from our people and from our struggle. So we said, no, our struggle for democracy is part of the struggle of the Palestinians, because with our democracy we challenge Zionism. And Zionism is the project which can unify the whole Palestinians, because all of the Palestinians are challenging Zionism and must suggest an alternative to Zionism as a racist vision. So our platform, political platform, was not the classical two-state solution. No, a totally different two-state solution. Not a Jewish state for the Israelis, not the separation idea. Jewish state for the Jews and Palestinians for the Palestinians. No. Two democratic states, dismantling settlements, to end occupation, and to have a sovereignty and sovereign Palestinian state in the West Bank, 22% of the historical Palestine, and a state for all of its citizens, not a Jewish state, within the 78%. And we will agree upon the symbols and the flag and the name, because it's something that should reflect all the citizens, and of course the right of return. But if you ask me, according to these principles and according to the situation on the ground, I don't care, and even the platform don't care about two or one. It cares about justice, equality, civic equality, national equality, right of return, and then we can decide whether we will implement this justice and equality, no racist state, no Jewish state, whether we will implement this vision within two or within one state.
Thank you. Now the audience, is there questions there?
Okay. It's okay. I can make it in
Or
English.
I can translate. I can try to translate.
It's okay. I can make it in English. It's okay. Okay. Oh. But thank you very much. I'm Emmanuel. I live here. Before, I want to tell you very, very much for coming here today, for all the explanation that you give us today, because personally, it is the first time. In my contact with Palestinian people, I meet only the Palestinian people, but it's the first time to meet the Israeli citizen.
No,
but,
I am a Palestinian people also.
Yeah. But you are Palestinian people, but legally you are citizen from Israel. Your passport, okay, it's okay. But we are speaking here about you want only the single states where the Israeli people and the Palestinian people can live inside. That is your vision. You don't think that if that single state is here, the Palestinian people cannot be in the second zone people in the second zone, where in the state where the Israeli people will be more powerful in that single state, if it is possible to make one state, if you don't think that the Palestinian people cannot be the people of the second zone, that's my first question. My second question is, we see many questions, many criminal law in the what way Israel make it. When we hear Avigdor Lieberman or the other people who are very extreme right, they say that the Arabic,
I want to. Yeah.
Bon, je vais le faire en français alors. Si
I want to go to Zahir.
Okay, we're going to answer the first question.
I hear, yeah. No one speaks, yeah?
You can go
to
ahead.
answer?
Yeah.
Oh. I just heard the first question. Okay.
Yes, just the first question.
If I understand your question, you are afraid that the Palestinians will be second-class citizens. No, but I said that the whole idea is to pass the political arrangement upon justice, upon equality, upon civic rights and national rights. So this is the first condition of any political arrangement, whether one state or two states. Equality, to guarantee equality in order to avoid the problem you represented. Okay?
Does this answer the question? Okay, we'll come back to your second question, but we'll go around the room first.
Thank you very much. I'm quite openly a little bit astonished and puzzled that many things have been misstated tonight, as you probably also know. Sorry. I'm puzzled a little bit and astonished that many things have been misstated tonight and are described in a way that do not reflect actually the reality and also the history of the state of Israel or of the entire of this piece of land. As you know, well, you're saying you were hundreds of times saying colonialism, apartheid, racism, fascism. I think you should better define those terms. What is what? The state of the Jewish immigration started at the end of the 19th century, as you know, and people came to Palestine at that time, or to the Ottoman Empire. And I'm not going to describe this now in further detail.
I'm sorry. Could you ask a question? Because
yeah, but I think no. I want.
Because Mrs. Zoabi came to express her opinion, and could you ask a question concerning her opinion?
I just would like to make one point that I think accusing the Europeans of having not freedom of speech, not freedom of press, and that they are being governed by, influenced by the so-called Zionist is not something which is actually acceptable. As you know, the Europeans, well, everybody has his own opinion, but I think to make one point, many things you were saying are not correct, are misstating, misleading, and also, in a sense, wrong to do, as you probably know. But I would be indeed further interested to know your opinion, to know your vision of the future of this land on realistic terms. Israel, Palestine, how to live together.
Okay. First of all, for me, I will begin from the end. For me, justice is a realistic thing, not occupation. For me, oppression is not a realistic thing because we don't, as long as you don't accept it. For me, equality, as I said, is not a slogan. It's something that you are, if you believe in, you will struggle for, and we are struggling for. And I wonder why you say that I did something misleading here. And no, it's not my opinion. I didn't express my opinion here. I give text about laws. It is not an opinion, it's facts. I don't agree that when I say racism, it's an opinion. maybe you don't believe in equality. Yeah, I cannot argue with you. If you don't believe in equality, this is your opinion, this is your values. But if you believe in equality, if you believe in democracy, then you will not treat the description racism as an attitude or as an opinion. Not even, of course, not as a false opinion, but even not as opinion, but as a fact. If you believe that confiscating my land and preventing me from living upon my land is not a discrimination, okay, I cannot argue with you, because this is a fact, it is a discussion about values, and I cannot change your values. I said a very accurate sentence. Let's have Israel speak about itself. Let's have the 100 the 100 good laws speak about themselves, and you could see how good are these laws. You can see by yourself how democratic are these laws. So, please, if you want to argue with me about the definition of racism, and now we will begin to redefine racism as Israel started to redefine anti-Semitism, I will say to you, no, it's a waste of time. But I think for people who believe in democracy, there is no chance to say that we are talking here about a democratic laws, because we cannot. I am asking you a little bit intellectual integrity.
Could you, there was a second part to his intervention, was there was some kind of reaction to your way of saying how Europeans deal with this problem. Do you understand his reaction? Or do you have a reaction to his reaction? That means, well, how can you tell us Europeans how to, our free press and how we should react? And
I don't understand you.
You don't understand?
I understand him, but not you.
Can you repeat it better than I did?
Well, my point was, I find it amazing that, or how do you come to the conclusion, let's phrase it differently, that Europe, the European Union, Luxembourg, any member state, or whatever it is so much influenced under pressure from what you call the Zionists, which is a term as such, which is also misleading, that they don't dare to speak out, and that, for example, the journalists or the press, also the people, cannot or don't want or cannot speak out.
Yeah.
That was my point.
Okay, I'm afraid that it is not a conclusion also. I'm afraid that this is how people themselves describe their own experiences, how journalists themselves describe their own experience. And this has daily Israeli practices to prevent parliamentarians from entering Israel without any reaction. It is not a way diplomatics treat with each other. To prevent NGOs and to start collect individual information about European people, and it is not my description of the Ministry of Strategic Affairs, it is that description of the Ministry of Strategic Affairs. We will start collecting personal information about European, about not just European, but this is the context now, European citizens who participate with BDS campaigns or have relations with the solidarity campaigns. And threatening, calling owners of halls, threatening them to close, not to rent their hall to an activities of a solidarity campaign, trying to persecute members of the Labour Party in Britain, threatening people that we will stop, we will put obstacles to your promotions. This is a daily information that people are telling us. And meeting diplomatics and parliamentarians telling you directly, we agree with you, but we cannot express our attitudes openly, then it is not, I have no space to conclude anything. I'm not concluding, I'm just reading what people tell us. And I am part of the, I am a member in the Knesset. I enter the discussion of a committee in the Knesset when the Ministry of Strategical Affairs said just last week, we have a strategy how to prevent the solidarity campaigns from preventing the Eurovision, taking place in Israel, but we cannot here inside the Knesset give you information about our strategies because part of it are secret strategies. Secret strategies. How to prevent the solidarity campaign and those who criticize Israel. A secret strategies. And I will give you, just enter. Now it's an opportunity, and I really thank you for this question. Please enter Google and read the reports about the strategies the Ministry of Strategical Affairs uses in order to oppress criticism, to threaten officials, and to persecute Europeans, yes.
Next person. Next question.
I have just two things to mention. Sorry, can everyone hear me? One comment about the Israel lobby influence within Europe, and then I also have a question about the future developments of Israeli politics.
Could you just choose one so we can?
Okay, yeah, I will
cover.
Talk about.
Just try to choose the best one.
Just about the Israel lobby influence within Europe. So, okay, so. I am an ex-student from the University of Leeds, and I was the former co-president of the Leeds Palestine Solidarity Group. So last year, when we had our Israeli Apartheid Week campaign, our society, along with societies all across the UK, faced discrimination regarding our events for Israeli Apartheid Weeks. We had to undergo extra security checks as a society. We had to have extra meetings with our university union staff. We had to fill in extra forms. We had last-minute room changes. And actually, if you have a look at the university articles The Guardian published in 2017 about the University of Exeter and Central Lancashire University, they were accused of censoring students because they cancelled events for Israeli apartheid.
What's your question?
It was just a comment back. I did have a question as well, but it was just sort of supporting Haneen's opinion.
What she was just saying. Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it was more of a comment of support.
Okay,
but I
thank
did
you.
have a question as well.
Thank you. We'll check on that. It's interesting.
Okay, yeah. It's something that you can look up
Thank
online.
you very much. There's a question over there.
Thank you. I appreciate your frankly speaking. My question is this one. It's known that recently the European Union strongly disagreed with Donald Trump about moving the USA embassy in Jerusalem, and strongly disagreed from Donald Trump about USA withdrawing from the nuclear weapons treaty with Iran. My question is, do you and does your party has any position on this? Does your party appreciate, welcome this position of the European Union, or it is indifferent to it? Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. No, of course we are not indifferent toward this position. Taking any autonomous attitude or decision or stand, autonomous from the blind support of Trump administration towards Israel, is something that we encourage, we welcome, and we see the benefit from this decision. And actually, we want to expand. We are asking, and we think that Europe should expand and deepen its autonomous attitudes from the American administration. This is what we are asking. This is a kind of decision in the right direction. Our argument is concretely about how Europe can be more efficient toward Israel in things that Europe doesn't agree. When Europe say, I don't agree, we perceive Israel take violent measures towards the Palestinians in Gaza, about things that we agree with Europe. Our most important discussion is about the strategy and the efficiency of the strategy, not about values. Sometimes, even the way the Europeans vote in the United Nations and in the Security Council is also supporting, as an attitude, supporting the Palestinian rights. But what is important for us, and what we are trying to convince or to deliver this message, how the Europeans can be more efficient in influencing Israel and the Israeli public opinion. And I will tell you that some journalist, Israeli journalist, has wrote an article on Haaretz, and it was a big title in Haaretz: "Please, Europe, help us. Please boycott us." So the strategy to be efficient is the strategy that Europe should make Israel accountable to its crimes. And the only way to make Israel accountable to its crimes is to consider seriously strategies of boycott, divestment, and sanction. Because this is the only way you can deliver a political message to the Israeli society saying that you cannot be above international law. You are not above international law. You are a normal state. As we put sanction towards South Africa, and I don't know where, we are treating you as a normal state. To treat Israel, this is our only demand. Treat Israel in a normal way, according to international law. And don't send a message. Again, I am mentioning this example. They laughed at us when they say, with your crimes, you will be isolated. And they are laughing at us in the Knesset. Really, a real laugh. No, we are upgrading our relations with the Europeans. The same year, Israel has put Gaza into a siege, 2008. Well, the same year, Israel has been accepted in the OECD as a member. The same year. And they told us, when they declared the siege upon Gaza, they told us, no, actually, we have been accepted. Just lately, we have been accepted as a member of the OECD. So our message, just to put Israel accountable to its crime, according to the international law, that's it.
That answers your question, right?
Okay. Yeah, thank you. First is a feedback in response to what you're saying. I'm not saying it's going to be a Zionist influence, whatever. What I noticed as a French is that whenever you criticize Israel, you see the president of CRIF, so the association that pretends to represent the Jews, and you don't know whether it's a confessional or a political or a foreign agent claim, and they just scream after anti-Semitism.
Could we have your question, please?
And so my question is the following, because I've seen Israel, I mean, there's a lot of confusion currently in Europe, right? With all these waves of migrants, and people see Arabs, so they are making, Arab is an Arab, and then, everything is disqualifying whenever you talk Arabic thing in Europe today. And I've noticed Israel pretend defending the interest of Jewish worldwide, particularly in Poland, and our country is doing nothing to just step in and say to Poland, this is not a way to treat the Jewish condition. And so Israel is making itself the advocate. So my question is, what could we do for our governments to defend Jews in opposition to defend Israel's interest? Because, not in opposition, but at least focus on the people, not on the state and what it involves. And second, for your voice to be heard, what could you do for the Jews that are not the Zionists, maybe?
That are not Zionists?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Again, starting from the second part of your question, I think that our vision, my vision, the vision I just represented here, it is not a vision which just represents the interest of the Palestinians. It does also represent the interest of the views of the anti-Zionist Jews inside Israel. And the vision of a democracy is a vision for all. It is not a Palestinian vision. It is not a national vision. It's our struggle for democracy. Yes, the drive is a national drive, and we consider it to be part of the Palestinian national movement, but the vision is a democracy. The vision is democratic state, a normal state. The vision is coexistence, but real coexistence, but justice coexistence. So for us, when we say a state for all the citizens, I think also about the anti-Zionist, the same as I think about the Palestinians. For me, I am speaking on behalf of both, not just on behalf of the Palestinians. And also, it is an answer for the Zionists that there is a chance for you to be part of a normal state after decolonizing your attitudes, your vision, and the legal system and the political system. So it is the answer. The vision is our contribution to the anti-Zionists. I represent them. Most of the anti-Zionist Jews vote for my party. They don't, of course, vote for Zionist parties in the Knesset. In the Knesset, there is no one anti-Zionist party. No. It is either Zionist or a Palestinian. So all the anti-Zionists, all 1,000, I don't know from 8.5 million how many anti-Zionists, but all of them either don't vote boycotting the Knesset, or they are voting for the Palestinian parties, and especially for the National Democratic Assembly. But for your first part of the question, how you make, I want to be sure that I understand your question, how you, as a European, make the anti-Zionist Jews part of...
I'm not talking anti-Zionist or Zionist.
Yeah, about the Jews, make them...
I see Israel claiming that interest of the Jews, and I think we should be defending the interest of any community, Jews included, and particularly in respect to memory in Poland, for instance.
Yeah.
Where basically they are just denying what happened, or their role in what happened.
I think the question was how we can defend the Jews, not to mix with actually the defense of Israelis, of Israel.
Not to let... I don't know if I can answer this question, but yeah, but I agree 100% that Israel forced itself as if it resembles the all Jews in the world, while it is not, and the gap, according to statistics and to researchers, between even the American Jews and Israel is just expanding. But how to do so, I don't know. we must fight against the real anti-Semitism, not the new artificial definition of Israel, which actually has nothing to do with anti-Semitism. First of all, not to deny anti-Semitism, because it's a phenomena, it is a reality, and you see the outcome in the 30s. So not to deny it, and to address it in the right way, not in the Zionist way, which counteractive. Actually, it contradicts the real interest of the Jews to be part of the board as a human being, as everyone else. Not to treat them in a special way. And this is what Israel is doing. Treat us in a special way. No. They treat you in a special way in the 30s, and you saw what happened to the Jews. So you must be treated as everyone else, according again to values and to international law.
This answers.
You talk about Israel is doing that and Israel is doing that, but you don't talk about Hamas that is controlling Gaza. You don't talk about Gdudei, Zadin al-Qassam, and all the rest of this terrorist organization, because I don't know if you know the laws of physics. For every action, there's a reaction. Every action that Israel is taking is a reaction for Hamas and other terror attacks. You know what's going on now in Gaza? You started it. Not you, I mean Palestinians in Gaza.
Can you bring it to your question?
My question is, you talk about Israel is doing everything. I don't see Hamas or even Fatah doing steps to try and de-escalate the situation. They send little kids, they send women to the border. I didn't interfere in your question, so
sorry.
Please be quiet.
Can you just slowly bring up to
so my question is, why don't Palestinians do anything to de-escalate this situation? They just escalate it with terror attacks. They kill innocent people. So please.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you are right, I think. I agree with you. We must do a lot. We must resist. We must resist more. We must be unified as a people in order to resist. And I didn't talk about Hamas because I thought it is obvious. Hamas and Fatah and all the Palestinian people are the occupiers. And they, according to the international law, not just have the right to resist. As a human being, they have the responsibility to resist occupation, siege, colonialism. This is the context. By killing people, let's go to statistics. Israel has killed, during the last 2 months, 109 Palestinians. No Israeli were killed by Hamas. No by this طائرات الورقية شو اسمها? No. In the second intifada. No statistics. No.
Just
no
quiet,
statistics.
please.
Let's talk with numbers. During the aggression upon Gaza, Israel has attacked Gaza, killing 2,200 Palestinians, 500 children. Israel has attacked during the second intifada, and I'm not quite sure, and so I will say thousands of Palestinians. If you want to talk about facts, the most dry facts are statistics. Israel is killing every 3.6 days Palestinians. If you want a proportion, because also international law talk a lot, even if we want to make Hamas accountable to its policies. And I agree, I'm not afraid. You know what I'm afraid from your discussion? Because I know at the end, the aggression is an Israeli aggression. I agree with you to open all the files, to count every single Israeli who have died, and to count every single Palestinian who have died. And if you are honest with yourself, not with me, you, not me, must reach a conclusion that the main terrorism in the whole story is Israel. The main aggressor is Israel because, remember, it is not the Palestinians who put Tel Aviv into a siege. It is Israel who put Gaza into a siege. It is not me that I occupy Herzliya or Netanya. It's you that occupy Ramallah and Hebron and Bethlehem and Jenin. It's your soldiers exist in Ramadan every night in the old city of Jerusalem. It's your state which steal houses of the Palestinians. It's your government who passed a law legitimized to steal private lands from the Palestinians in the West Bank. So just look, forget that they are Palestinians. Forget the demonization process you raised with, and try to perceive the Palestinian as a human being. And you tell me who is the victim, who occupies whom, who put whom into a siege, who put whom into prisons, who uproot fruit trees and olive trees, who prevent farmers from entering and farm their land, who put a wall preventing, okay, count this. Yeah, okay. I will mention, I have a lot of tolerance. Why? Because I saw a lot like you in the Knesset, and you are much more kind. So, okay, I have no problem with you.
We don't have time for a debate.
Yeah, but I will you made the list. If you have an honest way of dealing with the question you raised, just make a list about what the Palestinian did and what the Israeli did, and you make a balance. But don't forget that I was in my homeland in Palestine. You came to me in 1948. According to your... No, you were not.
No. Well,
Can I suggest...
I think you've answered.
Can I suggest that we go to the next question?
Okay, after you...
Mrs.
But
Zoabi.
at the end...
Okay.
خلاص, at that sentence.
Yeah. Okay.
At the end, maybe in your dream you were there, okay, and you needed Balfour, and you needed the Bible. I don't need the Quran. You need the Bible. I don't need Balfour. You need Balfour. I don't need the support of USA because it is my reality. Okay. Even though, at the end, I am telling you, we can coexist, we can live together, but not as occupier. I would not let you continue as an occupier and as a colonialist.
Okay. That's just to make it clear, we don't want to silence anyone, but we're not here for a debate. It's a question and answer session.
Ok, on va prendre encore une ou deux questions, enfin deux si la première est courte, et ensuite donc il y a le verre de l'amitié, donc on peut encore discuter de manière informelle ensemble.
Oh.
I just had a question regarding like Israel's interest and Israel's long-term interest. Wouldn't you think that the current Netanyahu's policies and laws are actually not in favor of Israel's long-term interests? Because sure, the global arena at the moment is very favorable to Israel with Trump being elected and the current prince in Saudi Arabia. But what will happen in 50 years? Won't Israel be isolated, as you say, increasingly? Isn't it in Israel's interest to shift dialogue now?
I didn't say that I'm sure that after 50 years Israel will be isolated. No, if you continue the same way, no, nothing would happen. The more of the same would happen. But what I am saying, that as Palestinians, we don't have other option. We cannot give up because we want to live. And this is not a way to live. The siege in Gaza, believe me, not a way to live. It's a way to die. So we will resist. We represent a justice cause. And part of our struggle is the international dimension of the struggle, to raise awareness within the international community that you are not neutral, you are supporting in a lot of ways Israel, and you must be honest with your values. Again, I don't want to repeat myself. I don't know what will happen after 50 years. I don't know. I know what I must do regardless the outcome. I cannot calculate the outcome. I cannot. We are not prophets also. You do what we think it's the right thing to do. The right thing to do, to struggle, to resist, not to give up. And believe me, it is a time when Israel will realize that what it didn't solve in an oppressive way, it will not solve in a more oppressive way. That power and oppression is not the answer to the Palestinian issue. No. You cannot. The maximum you can do with us, you did with Gaza. To make Gaza not a suitable place for human being, to make Gaza inhuman for the human life. This is the maximum. What else? Israel has calculated calories for Palestinians. 2,200 calories the Palestinian should take in Gaza in order not to starve, yeah, and to keep him in the edge of starvation. Till this is the evil. It's not just oppression. It's how evil this state is behaving with the Palestinians. But this is the maximum. Okay, you bumped us. You did everything. What else you can do? And no, we want our freedom. We want our sovereignty. And we inside Israel, we don't agree with your superiority and privileges. And okay, we will keep struggling, and we will see.
Does this answer your question? I'm not sure. Does it? Okay.
Okay. Israel depends upon the Arab regime, dictatorship regimes around Egypt, Saudi, Emirat. Yeah, dictatorship. And she supports dictatorship all over the world. She's one of the main suppliers of army technology to dictatorship in the world. So they think that they're now upgrading, and this is in detail, this is right, but in the overall context, they are so wrong. They are reinforcing their relations with these dictatorships, who also kill their people in Syria, and they will shift the attention from the Palestinian agenda, a Palestinian issue, towards Iranian issue, and the right wing in Europe will expand, and she depends upon dictatorship all over the world. It depends upon the right wing, and she thinks that the future now to the right wing, to more extremist regime all over the world, and because she is an extremist state, she will get the support from an extremist also regimes or right-wing regimes, and that's it. And the Palestinians are divided, but it is it's an accurate and stupid analysis of reality, although it's accurate.
One last question.
Can we?
I just would like to ask my last question. It's not black and white as we heard tonight, but I would like to ask a question. As let's say for tango it takes two, right? To have peace it takes two. So what were you doing in your struggle for the Palestinian cause on the Palestinian side to support the dialogue? And you were referring for many times now to the Gaza Strip, for example, to the siege. What were you doing in order to stop Hamas, for example, using the funds it is receiving in order to build, for example, the tunnels into Israel, or using it for weapons? And you were also, for example, referring to what the children in Israel or people in Israel think. But what do you do, or what did you do in your course inside the Palestinian population inside Israel, but also in particular in Gaza and also in the West Bank? to block or to stop using certain things in the textbooks of the children in the schools, for example, which are calling for hatred against Israel, against Jews.
Okay. Can I have my suitcase? Because I have an answer to him about textbooks.
No, we're not in a debate. It's a question and answer.
Okay. About textbooks, I will read to you two researches. Harry Truman is an Israeli institute for the advancement of peace at the Hebrew University. The institute conducted research about the Israeli and Palestinian, compared Palestinian and Israeli textbooks. In their 2004 study of 13 Israeli textbooks and 9 Palestinian textbooks, they found that the books portray, the Palestinian books portray Jewish throughout history in a positive manner and avoid negative stereotypes. However, according to the everyday experience of Palestinians, modern-day Israelis are presented as occupiers. The text include examples of Israelis killing and imprisoning Palestinians, which they saw every day. It is their reality. Demolishing their homes, uprooting fruit trees, and confiscating their lands and building settlements on them. The text also talks about the right of return for the 1948 Palestinian refugees when describing how those refugees live in camps. The Israeli textbooks, on the other hand, don't even mention Palestinians. The Palestinians as such are not found in any of the 3 types of primary level textbooks. Disputed territory, disputed, not occupied, disputed territory is presented as being part of Israel. Many of the chapters describes the good land, sometimes called our birthplace or homeland. The second research, Nurit Balad al-Hanan, an Israeli educator, examined 17 Israeli textbooks and reached the conclusion in her 2020 book, Palestine in Israeli School Books, Propaganda and Ideology in Education. It concluded that Arabs are presented in an overwhelmingly negative, orientalist, and demonizing light. The Arab with a camel, You never see a Palestinian child, my last sentence, or doctor, or teacher, or engineer, or modern farmer in these textbooks. Instead, they are represented, even Palestinian citizens of Israel, as terrorists, refugees, or primitive farmers. So according to an Israeli institution, the level of hatred, of incitement, or of absence, total absence, represent in the Israeli textbooks, while in the Palestinian textbooks, it is about a history of the Jews in a positive way, but the reality is in a negative, realistic way of how the soldier and the Israeli treats them. Now, my contribution about dialogue, I don't think that it is a matter of misunderstanding. I don't think that the Israelis don't know what they are doing, and they need me or another one to just clarify the situation by dialogue. It is not a matter of a dialogue. I am one of the most who try to dialogue with them. I'm in the Knesset. I'm in the Knesset 12 hours per day for 3 days, 36 days. We are trying. But what we are counter with is a society which, that it don't want to hear us. It is afraid, she is afraid of truth. Because of that, they have special laws I didn't represent here to prevent NGOs, Jewish NGOs, Israeli NGOs, from entering the schools. just explaining about their experience in the army, breaking the silence. They are not Haneen, they are not Palestinians. They are Jewish who want to serve in the army. They don't even say don't serve in the army. They even don't have the message not to serve in the army. They want just to experience to the students about their experience while they were in the army. But no, so it is not we who prevented to talk about things. It is the Israelis. Why? Because it's always the oppressor who doesn't want to talk about facts. Because the facts, sometimes facts have black and white, unfortunately, have black and white. Yes, there are other colors. But sometimes when you kill a child, 12 years old, even with a knife, I can control him if he has a knife. I, Haneen, with my small body, without a gun, I can control him. But no, you are a soldier, a big one, with a gun, you want to shoot him. Not because you are in danger, because this is the way you have reasoned with. My conclusion, no, to demonize, not to kill. They don't, no. I am not a naive, and you are not naive also. They don't raise the Israeli, kill the Palestinians, kill the Palestinians, kill the Palestinians. No, they demonize the Palestinians. They say we are a threat, in a continuous threat. So you conclude yourself what to do. So it is a matter to resist.
No, I'm sorry. We'll have to...
Can I, one sentence, about Hamas.
I'm sorry.
About Hamas, one
Wait a
sentence.
minute. She didn't answer your question? Is
about Hamas. No, I didn't. I just took sentences you don't want to hear, so I'm sorry. I took just sentences
there's
from
the other
your
part
question.
concerning Hamas. Yeah?
Hamas. It is not me. I have no influence upon Hamas. But you know who asked Hamas to stop everything because they want to resist in a non-armed resistance? It is the Palestinians in Gaza. And they tried. And they declare a non-violent march, a march of return. It was not Hamas whom Israel put snipers to kill. It was the nurse and the children and the 100 Palestinians who said to Hamas, stand aside, we want to resist in another way. And this is the answer of Israel to this civilian resistance. So don't talk about Hamas. Israel kills demonstrators. Israel kills Palestinians if they walk in the street.
Okay, I'm sorry, we'll have to... Next question.
Cette fois-ci, c'est vraiment la dernière des dernières.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Madam Member of Parliament. Thank you for coming here to explain and for the energy that you give. I am working with law as well, so I'm really touched by the fact that you collect all this law and to show fact. Okay, sorry. So I'm a lawyer as well, so it really talks to me when you show all this law, and I will just talk about facts. I don't want to make it political neither. In 2015, in France, people have been condemned because they were calling for BDS. This is the threat that we have here in Europe, as you were talking about. So it exists. The appeal court of Paris did sentence 6 people for calling about BDS, and that's it. There was nothing destroyed, just for us. About your action in Knesset, I would like to know, do you think, and it's a simple question, do you think Zionism is linked in a way to integrism in religion? Or not? To the integrism in religion, the fact that integrism...
Religious fundamentalism, Zionism. Actually, I'm not expert in this, but I can say no. My first reaction, no, because it's a secular, first of all, it's a secular ideology, but it uses religious elements, of course. But it's a secular. A lot of religious Jews tend, till 20 years ago, when they were not part of the Israeli system, tend to reject Zionism, saying that it is it contradicts with Judaism. So a lot also of trends, I'm not expert again, but a lot of religious trends within Israel, but they are not so vocal, and outside Israel, who think that it's contradicted their religion to have a Jewish state. That Jewish is a religious, not a power, not a sovereign, not a secular entity. So Zionist, it is more an imperialist. It is connected more in the imperialism, the British imperialism and the European imperialism, much than a religious fundamentalism, although it uses religious elements and discourse. Of course, the Bible, promised land, of course. But it is to utilize, it is the way secular Zionist ideology uses for its own benefit, uses with distortion our religious discourse and elements.
Merci. Merci. Je voudrais, avant que nous ayons partagé ce faire de l'amitié, je vous rappelle qu'on a un stand où vous pouvez vous inscrire pour recevoir notre lettre info pour devenir membre. Je voudrais remercier l'assistance très nombreuse et surtout les personnes qui ne partagent pas les mêmes opinions que notre intervenante. C'est important pour nous que ces voix-là se fassent aussi entendre. Nous voulons ici dialoguer. Je pense qu'au Luxembourg, c'est possible. Merci à David et un grand merci à Haneen. Thank you very much. That was very interesting. Thank you.